The youth group at the summit, our job is to amplify the voices of youth everywhere and their perspectives on combating sexual violence in conflict zones. And one of the most effective ways we found to do that is through the use of social media. And our youth group, we have a few of us here today, but we have delegates from developing countries, conflict countries, everywhere from Colombia to Congo to Sierra Leone to Uganda, and it's really quite representative of a lot of the adult delegations here, and we found that most adult delegations have been really receptive to listening to us, and it's been really pleasing. So let's do some quick introductions.
Hi, my name is Ariane. I'm from France, but I work at Save the Children in the advocacy division in London.
I'm Alexi. I live in the UK, and I'm really engaged in the youth around where I live in combating sexual violence, and I think it's been great to come this week.
Hello, I'm Rand. I'm from Palestine, and I'm with the YPR network, which is under the UNFPA's umbrella. And we work in Palestine on advocating the youth on sexual reproductive health and rights, as well as HIV and AIDS and gender.
And then I'm Joel Davis, and I did a lot of work with Physicians for Human Rights, and I'm the U.S. Youth Ambassador on Sexual Violence, and I'm also here representing the U.S. So I want to take it right into it so we can have a good discussion. So I'll start off with a question. So one of the things that I think a lot of the youth delegates here and just youth everywhere are really wondering is how can they stay engaged with what goes on at the summit and the fringe events after the summit ends. So one of the things that I've really heard from a lot of people and from a lot of adult delegates is that this conference is a stepping stone for them to go on to the next step in combating sexual violence. But for the youth, it's really a rare and fleeting chance for our voice to be heard. And then after the summit, we don't really have that chance to continue standing alongside the adult delegates. So this is really our opportunity. So what are some of the things that you think about that?
Thank you very much. I have to say I'm exceptionally impressed and happy that you really are engaged. And one thing I can say for sure is that I'll make sure, that the process afterwards with regards to implementation and taking actions and everything, I will bring it to the British, and I will make sure that we get you involved and we continue to engage with you and ensure that you continue to participate in all follow-up discussion, because every discussion now is going to be about implementation. Implementation means the concrete action that needs to be taken forward, and you play a two role. First, in making sure that you share that information, but secondly and most important, really, the people who are fighting on the ground are young people. I mean, the people who give the command are older, but really majority of the people who are fighting on the ground are your colleagues, your age group. And I see them as well as victims. Because coming from the war in Sierra Leone, what I have realized, when the war ended, they were lost. They were not educated, they were not skilled to have jobs, they didn't have opportunity. And so at the end of the day, they were just abandoned. And I think that's one message which you can amplify, because what is there for them when the war ends? It's a very big question that nobody has ever been able to answer. And I think it will help you in not only trying to get them out, but also fighting for those who have become victims. How do you move them forward? Because if you don't give them opportunities, then they are there to be captured by another set of people who want to settle grievances that are personal to them. So I'll let you know, and I think I will talk to Rick, and I will make it a condition in our follow-up discussions with the UK. And you can be rest assured in my office, we'll make sure we make it a condition that we always get you involved and engaged in the visits we're making, to either to inform you, to let you know, and some other thing. I cannot promise anything now until I discuss it with my team. But one thing you can reassure, we'll be in contact, definitely.
Well, one other thing that you talked about education, that I think a major thing to prevent sexual violence is have education. But when you think about it, having education in a conflict country is really hard in terms of security and funding. So how can we ensure that we have early education, general education, but also gender-based education to influence the norms, the cultural norms of the society to prevent sexual violence? Should we do it? How can we do it during conflict instead of just doing afterwards when all of the violence would have already happened and we couldn't be able?
I think what I will advise you, you're going to do a report. I think you should include how you want to get involved in terms of what you want to do as recommendations and what actually makes it difficult for you to get involved in terms of resources and other things. Because I have one philosophy in life and throughout my life. At the banquet table, there are no reserved seats. You have to go early, you get your seat. You're lucky you've been brought in. Don't allow the door to be shut at you. Stay in. But you have to do it. I think it's extremely important. So based on your recommendation and your engagement persistently, you have to know what you want. Don't wait for somebody to ask you to do a proposal. You prepare something and say, this is what we want to do. This is what it will imply. This is the implication. This is the cost. We need your help. And that's what you have. Don't wait for them to ask for a proposal. Please, just do it and go around and say, it's on the table. You ask us to work with you. This is what we want to do. I think you should do it.
Yeah, that's really great. And I was just wondering, because this is a global summit, how we can get involved and engage with the countries that weren't represented here this week.
That's a difficult one to answer because I think we're trying to get as many people as possible. Those people have contact, which is the reason why I fought very hard to get Mrs. Zuma. I insisted. I visited him in London on a trip, official trip, just to sit with him and let him know, you have to get her on the table. She is the chairperson for the African Union, majority of the country in Africa. And yesterday when we had the meeting with her and Angelina Jolie, I said, let's go to her and agree on the next step. That's where you give an eye responsibility. Because she now has to bring her constituency on board. So once you say yes, the next thing you will request to her, let's have a meeting at the African Union, bringing all heads of state together to discuss sexual violence. That's where the countries that have not signed will not say no. You will meet them there and say, oh, you didn't sign this. Why? Or you give her the responsibility that get them to sign before we get to the summit. So you have to think how you do it. There are people who we call, in my civil society days, we call them gatekeepers. The people who stand in front of the door. They are your alliance, because when they open the door, everybody comes out, or you are allowed to go in. So that's very important. So we have to continue. I think we're there.
One more. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, it's very important to tackle the issues, which are the effects of different things in the society. For example, like sexual violence is not the root of the cause, it is the effect of the cause. So how can we tackle the roots, which can be in the education, which reinforces gender inequality, for example, and the media and the family structure and all those different roots? How can we work on reforming those roots or trying to change them? Because it's really hard and it could take up to centuries. So what's the strategic plan?
I always say, when I talk to people, they ask me what is the correlation between gender equity, empowerment of women, and sexual. I said, if you don't respect your women during this time, you will not protect them during war. So when we go into countries, we don't only look at the issue of sexual violence, but we are like the guys with the stick. Our entry allows others to follow us in. Because if I go to a country, I go with the reproductive health Batunde, or I go to UN Women. So as I talk, she's given an opportunity. As I negotiate with Parliament to make laws, I make sure the issue that has to be with gender equity is actually integrated into that law. That's why we work, because we will lose all our gains if we don't discuss the issue of gender equity together with sexual violence. You cannot separate them. So it is important as you go along in the messaging, in the other way. So the fact that you are allowing men to sit and discuss about gender, and they allow you to go to talk to women,
Exactly.
and you bring the women to them, you're changing. When the war finishes, it's never be the same. I experienced it in Sierra Leone. We were that way. Once we walked to there, we took the lead, the women were leading and everything. Once we got to the table and the peace process was signed, the country, the structure of the country changed. It's never going to be the same. That's what's important, because the education you give the women during the war on sexual violence, their reproductive health, their ability to make their own decisions, you know, that's how they will not keep quiet. Trust me. Once you allow women on the table, they'll never go out.
I also have just one last question. But we're focusing on sexual violence in conflict, but what about countries that are not in conflict? They also face sexual violence.
No, I mean the campaign, for now, you cannot open all the doors. I have 22 countries in my report on sexual violence in conflict. I only focus on 12 because I need to start somewhere.
Okay, so you're gonna continue with
Well,
that.
UN Women, we take it on. They are part of the United Nations Action Against Sexual Violence. You have UN Women there, you have UNFPA, you have UNICEF, you have all the agencies that work on gender equality. So this is the entry point. So as soon as you're able to get success stories, you build on them. Then it becomes a nationwide or worldwide thing.
Thank you so much for sitting down with us.